Rebel on the radio, baby.
Hey, Johnny.
Hello.
How are you getting on, mate? You all right?
Yes, brother. Yeah, man. I'm on.
It just makes me laugh. Like you just popped up. I was just on my phone, chilling out. Bang, there you are.
Yeah.
How's it all going anyway?
Good, mate. Good. Just taking it easy, man. Yeah. I bought a juicer, like a smoothie maker and a juicer. So I've just been going sick in Morrison's, buying loads of mad shit for it, man. Like, some of them are pretty hanging, but I've got some down to a T. Like I've got a good one with carrot, ginger, orange, raspberries, banana, pomegranate. There's something else in it.
By the time you finish buying all that, it probably costs more than a smoothie maker. I would have thought. It's a hell of a list.
Yeah. No, I bought the smoothie maker. Yeah, I'm just throwing all the shit in it. Yeah.
I was going to say, because we're going to do this on the radio, we can't swear.
Yeah, man.
No worries. I mean, it's a struggle for me. I always struggle with it.
Are we not live, are we?
We're not live, no, but I'm going to sort of record it and then I'll cut it up a bit for the radio. And if you're all right with it, I might put it on YouTube as like a little video. But
yeah, okay.
To be honest with you, mate, the swearing things, it don't bother me, obviously, but if I keep cutting it up, it sounds like rubbish.
Yeah, I know the score. Yeah.
So I mean, you must have done thousands of interviews and stuff like that. And I know we had a chat on the phone the other day, and it was quite an interesting one in terms of, I don't know where you are at the moment, like how this year, I suppose it must have been this year, it's like the life's changed quite a bit. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, totally. So we was on tour January, February with Liam Gallagher around Europe.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was a great tour to be on. Obviously, for any band, it's massive to be part of that. But for us to get to go around Europe and get to go to cities where we played years ago when I went on my first tours, it was great to revisit them places and still have fans there. Right. I was quite surprised, actually. We was really well received by a lot of the Europeans, and it was a good feeling to be back doing them kind of gigs, as well as doing loads of our own tours in 2019, selling out shows and stuff. It was just great, and I remember thinking, wow, I've really got the band back to a decent level now, where it's sort of onwards and upwards. The album was due out in March, or it came out in March 2020. So we got back from that tour, and I remember coronavirus, COVID, was just sort of going off in the press, because I remember I did an interview with Radio 1 on the tour bus going through the Alps, and it ended up being on the BBC News website, and it was in the Daily Mail, on the Daily Mail website, and I had people texting me going, your story's above COVID. So more people had visited my story of coming back from where I'd come from to doing the gigs with Liam at that time. Obviously COVID hadn't fully gone off then, but we got out of Italy. We was in Italy about a week before, because it all shut down, didn't it? Italy shut down. So we got out of there just in time, and we finished in Paris, and I got back, and then I had a couple of weeks relaxing, winding down, because you need that after a big tour like that. You need a bit of self-care and relaxation, and then I was ready to go again, and the tour got booked, our own tour, UK tour and Ireland, and then the lockdown got announced.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I actually remember reading that BBC News article about you, and it was weird because I think I messaged you to do an interview when the new album was coming out in 2020. And I listened to that, and I think, to be honest with you, it's one of my favorite tracks you've ever done on there. Is a number called DNA. I think that's just such a good song. And it's also like a progression back from the early days, because I just want to take you back for a second to like 07 when the band started and 09 when the first album came out. Like that 2-year period there, what was that like? Were you just working on Twisted Wheel and nothing else at that point, or did you have another job and stuff like that, or was it just you started a band, 2 years later you released the album, and it was just band? Do you know what I mean?
are you talking about at the very beginning?
I'm talking about the beginning. I'm taking you right back, so I'm starting back from the first album.
Yeah. Did I have a job? Probably not. Not that I can remember. We had ways and means of living, I guess. I don't need to go into all that, but we was just music, man.
Yeah.
It was like play guitars wherever we went. Everything was based on having a jam, you know. So we started jamming in a bedroom, and we had a drum kit set up. Our drummer was like renting a room in his house, and the person whose house it was seemed pretty cool with us just going sick at the weekend in the bedroom with the amps plugged in. So we started the band sort of through doing that. It just seemed to like come together, and then we made a demo, and we put the demo out there. We'd go outside people's gigs, you know, when gigs were on in Manchester, we'd stand outside with CDs and just getting about, really trying to get people onto the band, and it worked, you know. We got a big following in Manchester, and then not long after that, you know, we did a few gigs, and the industry was checking us out, and then we had a record deal. We got on tour with some great bands, Reverend and the Makers,
Yeah,
The Enemy, The View, and then Oasis, and others, and then we went to LA. Then we made an album in Hollywood. It was
there was some real
at the time.
That's crazy. I mean, there was a real scene back then, though, wasn't there? I mean, that 2007, 8, 9 period, I always remember it well myself. I was 17, 18, 19, born in 90. So that was like right when I was involved. But Oasis, I was actually at one of your gigs. I think you supported Oasis in Heaton Park in Manchester on that final tour. And that must have been a weird one, because that was the last time Oasis ever played, like that tour, wasn't it? 2009.
Yeah, I get a bit mixed up with how that works, because we did a load of UK dates with them, and then we did Eaton Park, but then we went to Europe with Oasis, and I'm sure they split up. We didn't do the Paris gig. I know Arctic Monkeys was on the Paris gig, and I don't know who opened up, but we was on the day out. We've done quite a run of gigs, and then we went doing our own gig in Milan, and then the next night was Oasis in Milan with Kasabian and the Kooks and us and an Italian band, and they never turned up, Oasis. So it was I'm sure it was that night in Paris after the gig where they had a bit of a row. I don't know. I think the guitar got broken. But it's hard for me to remember because it's quite a while back, and it's, you know what I mean, it's hazy days. So, but yeah, the Heaton Park gigs, man, immense. You know, Oasis is like religion, isn't it? So to be part of a gig like that, you know,
yeah, it was epic. I mean, that's not many people get a chance to play gigs like that, Johnny. I think that's like something else, another level, like that sort of adrenaline when you're walking on the gigs like that. What can you give a little description of what's that like?
I guess it's just like a rush of adrenaline and excitement and passion, and yeah. it's hard for me to sort of say what it's like, because it's something that I've always seen myself doing, and sort of when I'm there before I go on stage, I sort of feel like that's where I belong. And I don't know, it's not like unnatural to me, or it's just well, it's supposed to be a walk on a stage like that, and you've got some of them gigs, I can't remember the amount of people, but it's way up in the 20,000 mark. It's just a full-on buzz, man.
What about like, because some of my favorite Twisted Wheel stuff going back is like I said to you on the phone, funny enough, like She's a Weapon was always one of my favorite tunes and stuff. And when I hear those songs, I get a little bit nostalgic. It brings me back to 10, 11 years ago now, or coming to 12 years ago. Do you get nostalgic when you hear those songs, or do you try not to listen to them, or what's that like?
No, I listened to him quite a bit actually, but I did have a long period of time where I didn't listen to it, because I think in my mental state just started, I just don't know, it just brought too many feelings up for me and memories and stuff, good and bad. But now I listen to it and it is, man, it's rocking. It's good shit.
How dare you? How dare you? I'll have to swipe that out. But then on the 2000, I think you went from, you have to correct me if I'm wrong here, 2012 was the next album. And so the gap between 09 and 12, what was happening there? Was it just a lot of touring and stuff, or were you writing a lot?
Yeah. Between 09 and 12, it was, heavy touring. It was just constant. We went to Japan a few times,
Really?
Europe with various bands. We did our own tours in Europe. We were constantly doing the UK. Basically, grafting, putting the work in, and getting, helping the fan base to grow, I guess. But I was writing, but not as much as I would have liked to have been, looking back now. I think I was sort of consumed in the whole party lifestyle, which is easily done. And I delved into that side of things far more than I probably should have. So it sort of slightly got quieter each year, sort of after 2010. 2011 wasn't as productive. And then, sort of 2012, or maybe the end of 2011, the lineup changed. So I cut the original drummer and bassist left 2 separate occasions, but they both left. I was a nightmare to work with at the time due to my hedonistic lifestyle. And sort of went quiet. We went quiet for a bit.
And then you get to 2012 and you've got this 8-year sort of hiatus, if you want to call it that, between 12 and 20, which is the last album. So how was that? I don't know how the best way to put it, but was that due to your lifestyle? Did the wheels completely fall off in like 2012 after that point?
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, there was so much going on. It's hard for me to remember exactly how it went, but it was, I think we done that second album, and we toured that, and then my drug use just took over, really, and there was just nothing productive coming from me, which I was kind of always a driving force from day one in the creative side of, the writing side. So once I dried up, it sort of came to a halt, really. And I've become very unreliable. I've been letting people down and cancelling gigs last minute, and just being a complete nightmare, really. Not appreciating the opportunities that I had, but it's explainable. I got sucked into addiction, which does happen. and it took taken over my life really.
Was
So
that a slow process? Like did it just overcome you eventually? Was it a slow process to get to that point? Because I mean, every band, I think rock and roll and music in general, let's be honest, it's got that sort of reputation on it. Everyone wants to have a beer and do a bit of whatever, and that comes with the territory. But did it start like that for you, and then just grow and grow and grow? Was that how it worked?
yeah, I guess I'd grown up listening to music from being at an early age, music, and a lot of it was heavily drug inspired music.
Yeah.
So I was sort of switched on to stuff like maybe when I was probably too young to start delving into stuff, but I was always partying and trying and experimenting like young lads do and young kids do. And then obviously getting signed to a major record label and getting an advance and having loads of money, and not really knowing what to do with it other than spend it taking drugs, and touring. You're getting alcohol for free.
Yeah.
It's very rare you've got to pay for a drink when you're on tour, at the actual venues anyway. And then it was kind of like that. You'd been on it for night after night after night, and then the only way to get yourself feeling right to do the gig the next night is to carry on drinking. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's sort of, that's where it started becoming an issue. It was sort of like I started becoming dependent on alcohol and drugs to be able to do the job, which is not right, is it?
Well, no.
So it went, and then yeah, it just got worse and worse basically.
Was there a moment though, Jonny, where you went, I'm in deep here. This is where, like, yeah, where you thought, crikey, where am I? What's going on?
Do you know what? It was years later when that came into thought, because I was that consumed by it all. I thought I had it all together, because it warps your senses, doesn't it? It clouds your judgment of anything that's going on. You're numb to everything. So in my little world, it was all, I had it all going on. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Even when stuff was going wrong, it's like, I can deal with it. I'll just do this and shut off from it. It's sort of like pretending nothing's happening kind of scenario. It was years later, I'd say 2015, 16, when I ended up homeless.
Right.
And then that's kind of when it's like, wow, where have I come? How far down have I come from where I was? Pretty far. But I carried on regardless, because that's what addiction does to you.
Still using, still doing, I suppose, whatever you could to get what you needed to get, right?
Yeah, of course. And don't get me wrong, I did make many attempts to try and get myself straight and clean, but I didn't really know how to. So it only lasted a week or two, and then I think I'm all right now. Can go at it again.
Did you have a really low point, a particular moment where you thought, I really need to get some help here and sort myself out? Did that happen to you?
Yeah, loads of times. There was loads of times where I was, looking for help, getting some help, but not maybe the right help. God bless anyone who did try and help me. But I think in the state of mind where I was at then, only I could help myself, and that's when I started to get well. When I decided to help myself, because I go to people and ask for help, and they try and help me, and then I'd throw it back in the face, because that's where I was at the time. So it took me quite a few years really to realise that I've got to want it, and by the grace of God, that moment came, and I did start to put things right, and I'm still putting things right now, and I always will be. But it was about 2017 I started to get a grip.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was there a particular moment? You said that moment came. Was there a particular moment that you can think of?
I really can't answer that, because there's been so many ups and downs. It's hard for me to pinpoint, but there was just a time when I went to stay. I'd been homeless, living rough and sofa surfing, and it was really getting me down, because I was seeing people who I was seeing people who come up after me, kind of who I'd mentored in some senses, and kids who I'd inspired musically, now making music and doing all the things that I was doing years before.
Right.
And it made me feel like, wow, where I've gone wrong here. I want to be doing that, because that's what I love doing. I don't love doing this, what I was living at the time. So I made a conscious effort to try and find someone to stay with who was, into music, and I could sort of get away from where I was living.
Yeah.
So I went up to Preston to stay with a friend, and I booked into a studio there, and I was writing songs before I went, when I could do, and then I went to this gaff and I carried on writing. I booked in the studio in Preston, and I went in and I recorded an acoustic version of DNA. I recorded acoustic version of Show Me, which is the last track of the third album, Satisfying the Ritual. And I recorded an acoustic version of a song called Rebel, which is on the third album. And then I came back from there and found somewhere safe to live. And yeah, I started the band back up. I got some guys to come and have a practice, and things started falling into place. I booked a few gigs, acoustic gigs, and one of the acoustic gigs, at the end of the show, I brought on the new lineup. I mean, the lineup changed after that, but we came on, and that was sort of the gig that I did acoustically. All the fans who was there was all shocked, because I brought the band on at the end, and it was a surprise. You know what I mean? So it went down quite well. Well, it went down amazingly.
And that was maybe a moment that you thought. Did you think then, right, we're going to record another album? Let's get this going again.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that was kind of the plan when I was in Preston. I was recording, was like, right, I'm going to start recording songs. Start with the basics, get some acoustic tracks down, and see where it goes. So I still had, even though I was a write-off, I kind of still had some fire. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
The passion and the fire was still there, and I did it myself. I kind of got myself. I don't want to say clean, because I was still having a drink, but I got myself in a better state than I was, and I made a good go of it. And then by 2017 summer, I was at 18. 2018 summer, I brought out the Johnny Guitar EP, which got a #1 in the physical charts. So that was like the comeback EP, and that was, I mean, that was nice. That was nice to see that.
Did you, at that point, were you trying to sort of kick everything, like booze the lot, and just be completely clean, or were you just happy to be just making music again? And you were like, right, I might be drinking a bit or whatever, but I'm just going to carry on for now.
No, at the time, I didn't. I thought, as long as I'm not doing this and this and that.
Yeah, and that we talk about heavy drugs, though, aren't you? I mean, you were on this higher echelon drugs that you can get. I mean,
yes.
I think everyone's sort of, like you might do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but you were flat out. So, and in comparison to being on stuff like heroin and things like that, like having a drink must be, I don't know, I don't want to say nothing, but manageable, maybe is the word.
People say that. Like, I see alcohol as just as bad as the others.
Right.
It's all preference. It's down to the individual, isn't it? Some people can just have a drink and then they can have a good session at the weekend and then call it a day. And then, you know, maybe have a few pints midweek. You know, I can't do that. You know, if you give me one drink, I'm off. I'm off for weeks.
Now, would you consider yourself? I'm guessing that you consider yourself an addict. Would you? Do you think you would have gone the same route had it not been for being in a band and stuff like that, or do you think you would have been destined to be doing what you've done regardless of like your job? Do you see what I mean?
I don't know. I can't say really. Who knows?
Yeah, so it's really interesting that though, because I think some people can navigate maybe around it. I mean, nowadays people are a lot healthier anyway. I think even that period that we speak of, like between 2007 when Twisted Wheel started and now, music's changed massively. Like the people that are out there have changed a lot. It's not, I don't know. I mean, that felt like the last of the old school in a way, like the proper band scenario.
Yeah, I guess with that, what you're saying there, it's kind of like a lot of bands now who are successful are generally quite healthy and clean living, because
clean living, yeah.
they have to be. There's a lot less money getting thrown about by the record companies and you know, stuff like that. So they don't want a bunch of leery lads who take loads of drugs and drink all day long and ruin things and ruin plans or turn up to things drunk, because stuff goes wrong when you're doing tours. It's immense, a tremendous amount of work goes into booking a big tour. Obviously you've got your roadies, you've got your driver, you've got your vehicle, the hotels, you know, the plans, insurance, your instruments. And if you're all wrecked, it all goes to pot.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
If you're in a massive band, you're super successful, and you've got everyone just doing everything for you. Yeah, I suppose you could probably get away with it. Of course, you can get away with it, but
yeah, well, it's a business at the end of the day, isn't it? I mean, and they're trying to run a business, but also they say with the bigger bands getting away with it, they might get away with it physically. Like within the business, but physically and mentally, like you're still going to go down a bad road if you keep hitting it as hard as you hit it. It makes no difference really. I think that you can look at the biggest bands to have ever walked the earth, and they've got there's been some real problems. I mean, a lot of people have died. That's just like, I don't think it's just the money side of things. I don't know. I think people are just living cleaner now anyway.
Yeah, it's a way forward, I think, just in every sense. You never hear anyone say, right, I started taking loads of drugs and my life became amazing and everything went really well.
Yeah,
you don't hear anyone say that, do you?
It's a rare, very rare, yeah.
Yeah. Or, you know, if they don't get to say that, they're probably dead, and they don't even get far enough to be able to say that.
Or they haven't done it.
Yeah. So I guess it's a case of the times that we're in now. You know, health is a lot more. People are a lot more conscious about what they're eating, and I mean, a lot of it comes down to, I think, you know, with social media and stuff, people are addicted to getting likes and looking good and getting complimented online, so they're going all out to try and make themselves feel better and look better, which is kind of a weird scenario, a weird situation, because, you know, happiness should come from within.
Yeah.
People are very consumed in, you know, going to the gym and eating health food to try and look better, I think. But there's nothing, if people are keeping healthy, like, it's all good, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's a different type of health that needs looking after now, which is mental health. I mean, social media has a big impact on a lot of people, especially I always think younger people trying to look a certain way or whatever. I was going back to the tunes. I just wondered about the recording of Satisfy the Ritual in 20. I say 20 as if, you know, it's like saying 1970 or something, but it was in 2020. What was it like recording that record after such a long time, having been out of the studio? What was that like?
It was, you know what? It was kind of, it was like starting again in a way. I had been in studios and recorded stuff. I'd been making it, even in them times when I weren't doing anything with the band. I was sort of going to people's houses and recording hip hop tracks and techno tracks and whatever we was doing at the time. But going in there, it was a different lineup. It was even a different lineup than the EP that we brought out in 2018, the Johnny Guitar EP. So a couple of the guys were quite new to it anyway, you know, studio stuff. They'd done stuff before, but it was all quite new. So it took a bit to sort of feel comfortable, I think. But once we did, you know, we didn't actually record it all in like one. The previous albums that we made, we went and recorded them in like a space of a month or, you know, 6 weeks or whatever. That we'd just go in for like 3 days and then that'd be it for the week. And then the next week we'd do 2 days. And it was kind of like that. That was sort of because of the budget that we had to make the album. We didn't have a lot of money to make it.
It came out so well though. I mean, like, I'd go back to, as I said at the beginning of this, like the song DNA. I just think that one sticks out to me from a recording quality as well. I think there's a lot in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Dean Glover, the producer. I mean, like he's an engineer and producer. I kind of sort of helped produce it as well, as did some of the other lads. So there was quite a lot of creative input going into it. And mixes getting sent backwards and forwards in the middle of the night. You know, one person had a few beers and he'd be listening to a mix on his headphones in the middle of the night, and then he'd be sending it back, changing stuff, and then someone else would be like, "I don't like what you've done there. You probably were drunk when you done that. Send it back." And then it sort of we drew a line then and sort of went, right, it's getting too messy this. So it just sort of went between me and Dean then, and we just bouncing the mixes and we were going in. And some days were great. Some days we'd go in the studio and we'd get 2 songs done and everyone would be firing on all 4 cylinders. And then there'd be other days we'd go in and it could have been me, it might have been someone else, wouldn't be performing to, you know, the best of their ability, or be hungover or in a state or whatever. And we'd end up just wrapping it up halfway through the day and just going, there's no point staying here because we're just getting frustrated.
Right.
So it was quite a tough album to make in that sense. It was very stop-starty. And
then you did that album came out about the same time. I don't know if it is, I'm quite right here, but that was when you went on tour with Liam again over in Europe. Was that quite a clean process for you? Like, I'm talking about, were you clean then basically during the recording and the touring?
No, I can't say. I'm not going to lie. You know, I'm speaking the truth. No, I wasn't clean. I might have been thinking that I'm all right because I was living better than I had been in the past.
Yeah.
No, by no means that I was clean. Like I said, at them times it'd just be swapping one substance for another.
So you sort of got to a point where you were managing, and then go on. Sorry.
There was spells where I was clean. There was spells, so there'd be like a month where I'd be clean and I wouldn't do anything. I'd go to the gym and drink loads of water and get myself to quite healthy at certain points. But then it just, you know, I didn't know how to maintain that kind of lifestyle. So I just resort back to what I knew. So say we had a great day in the studio, or we you know, something good happened with the band, it'd be like, let's celebrate because we've achieved something.
Natural feeling though, isn't it, that, Johnny? I mean, like, you want to do that with anything. I think everyone's got that little bit of that in them. But I also wondered at that point whether or not, having gone through so much and been even like to the point of being homeless and stuff. I just wondered if you thought in your mind then that'll never happen again, and you thought you were out at the other end, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I did think that. Yeah, I thought, wow, I've come so far from where I was a few years ago.
I suppose that was, sorry to interrupt, I suppose that was the point of the Radio 1 interview that you were talking about right at the beginning of this interview. Like, they were talking about a guy who had been in a band, then that was quite successful, gone down to being homeless and back up again, touring with Liam Gallagher.
Yeah. So I did that interview, and it was kind of bad of me, really, because I wasn't taking substances, but I was still having a drink. But from what I could figure out at the time was, like I said before, that I thought that was okay. So that interview was sort of about getting myself sorted, which I had done. And to a lot of people, having a drink in a band, a rock and roll band on tour, there's nothing wrong with it.
No.
And that, as that tour went, I performed well every night. We was on point. We didn't let anyone down. We gained loads of new followers all around Europe. So it was kind of like, well, I'm not doing anything wrong here. Everything's going well. And even my drinking wasn't too crazy. It was only what any young lad in a band would do.
Did you have that feeling subconsciously that maybe this isn't a good move, or did that not even come into it?
What, having a drink?
Yeah, like, were you sat there going, I shouldn't really be doing this, but I'm on tour.
No, not at the time.
I'm doing it because you were doing some massive gigs as well. I mean, we're not talking about. I mean, I've been in a band for years. I played some absolute rubbish gigs and gone, I need a beer after. But you're doing some big gigs there. That you're getting a buzz on stage every night. You're with Liam Gallagher. You're doing things that, like, most bands won't ever do, Johnny. So, like, do you know what I mean? Like, was that subconsciously after going, should I be drinking here, or were you just in it?
No, I had no time for thinking like that. I was like, I'm sat in a dressing room backstage on tour with Liam Gallagher. I've got a fridge full of cold Peronis. I've got a bottle of rum on the side.
Yeah.
There's a Guinness over there. I'm about to walk on stage and play to so many thousand people. Why shouldn't I be having a drink? It's my right. I've earned this right to be out of a drink. I never questioned it once. There was times when I was feeling a bit wrote off through the daytime, thinking, oh God, I had a bit too much last night. I hope I can sing well enough tonight to wow people or whatever.
Yeah.
And then maybe not performing as well as I could do, and beating myself up. But it was all fun, mate. It was all good, and it was like the future's looking bright. We've got an album recorded, so we're actually on tour around Europe with Liam Gallagher, playing to thousands of people. We've got an album in the bag. We're getting all these new followers. People are interested in what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're seen as a respected band musically, and it kind of, like you said before, people like nostalgic because they remember it when they were 16, 17. Now then people are older. I mean, a lot of people who started watching us in the early days was coming with the kids to watch us on the last tours, So it was all looking really hopeful. The future looked bright. I wasn't using the drugs that I'd been on previously. The band all get on, top musicians. We had a tour lined up for 2020. We had more support dates with massive artists that was obviously going to be done.
Yeah.
And then we had festivals lined up, booking us left, right, and centre. So we was 2020. We was going to be on most of the major festivals. We was doing some massive gigs with some big artists, and we had 2 tours planned.
And the album.
And the album. So there was nothing to sort of make me think I'm doing something wrong here. I was thinking, wow, I'm doing it right. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely, mate. I mean, and then obviously you say, I think you're in Italy, just got out of Italy and the COVID thing hits. No one really expected it to be as bad as it has been. But was there a point during the lockdowns and stuff where the wheels just fell off again for you?
Yeah, so we got back from, we did it, it wasn't, we'd done some other places after Italy, but all that COVID was kicking off.
Yeah.
And we got back, like I said before, I had a bit of a rest. Started playing my guitar, had a few lyrics I've been writing on the tour, so it was like, right, I can get these lyrics into some songs and stuff like that. Got a bit of time on my hands. The tour's getting announced soon. The album came out. That got a number 9 in the physical charts, which is great for us. You know, not much radio play. So it was all down to sort of the fans and social media.
You were working hard at that as well, though. I can remember you were promoting it a lot yourself
constantly,
personally.
you know, probably my getting on some people's nerves, but it doesn't matter when you got something to promote and put out there, you know, and you're not getting much exposure in the mainstream, or you know, we were getting some press and stuff like that. So, you know, thank you for anyone who helped us out in that sense. But yeah, you've got to hammer it. And you know, most people are sat on the phone, so you know, they want to see stuff from the artist, personal stuff. Everyone wants to see a dressing room photo or what goes on backstage. It's like that's what people want to see. So, you know, I was giving it to them. And then the album came out, got a number 9 in the charts. The tour was about to be announced, and then it locked down. The first lockdown in March, got announced. So then it was just sort of, wow, everything. I mean, at that time, didn't realize how long it was going to go on for.
No.
So it was like, okay, no worries. Everything will go back to normal in a month or two, and then we can re-announce the tour. So just bide our time. You know, get healthy, do some writing. And then it sort of dawned on me that you can't remember the first lockdown. It was hard to go to the supermarket, wasn't it, to go and get some whatever, bog roll or whatever. There was all this chaos going on, and it kind of depressed me. We couldn't go to the practice place where the band rehearsed because there's other workers there, and all their jobs have been shut down, so they'd have been kicking off if we'd have been going making noise on the guitars and all that. So band practice stopped. And then it was sort of that, you know, after tour come down anyway. We just got back from tour in Europe, so it's kind of like you sort of don't know what to do with yourself. I was living with my girlfriend at the time, my ex-girlfriend. She was at work still. She worked in food production, so she was a key worker. So I was kind of at home on my own.
Right.
And sometimes, especially with me, I not so much at the minute, but I've suffered from depression and stuff like that, anxiety and depression. And I guess that mixed in with the tour come down, and then, you know, the future sort of looking a bit uncertain. It didn't take me long to start thinking. So I started thinking negative stuff, got into a pattern and not wanting to get out of bed. Then it was like, that'll get me out of bed. I'll go to the shop and get a bottle of wine, you know. And then once that started, you know, next thing I was on the top shelf. Then it was drugs, just to do something in the daytime.
Yeah,
you know,
just kick the boredom.
Yeah. And then, you know, me being an addict and how my mind works, like I said before, you give me a few drinks and I'm off. And it kind of with that again, I sort of went into that horrible world of basically drinking and taking things into blackout just to get through the days. You know, some people might perceive that as weakness or something, but it's not, man. It's addiction's an illness. And, you know, like I said, you know, you give me one's too many, 1,000's never enough. And yeah, it all went downhill rapidly. I ended up being at the house on my own. My partner left, and you know, that's enough for a lot of people to get on it, innit? So that on top of everything else, it just snowballed into complete disaster. Then it was just like I was waking up in the hospital and people was coming round to my house to try and see if I was all right, because I wasn't answering the phone for days, and it was all like kind of that chaos.
That's heavy though, isn't it? I mean, waking up in a hospital alone, that's not something most people would end up doing. Did you ever have a point there where you just like this snapped and went like, this has got to stop? Or was it once again, was it right down to the bottom before you even think about it?
It was thank God I'm blessed to have some certain people in my life who care about me enough to actually tell me how it is, because everyone in the life has people who will co-sign, and so you want to get on it, mate, do you want to have a party? Yeah, even though you're in debt and you've got no money left and your liver's packing in, no, I'll get on it with you, because it's parties, that's what we do. I've got loads of people in my life like that.
Yeah.
But luckily I've got some good people, and it was more down to them. I was gone. I was completely gone. So I don't even think I would have been aware how bad I was, because I was that wrapped up in it. It probably sounds madness to some people, but that's how it is. So certain people come and spoke to me, and I managed to get in a detox.
Right.
I got in a detox place. That's somewhere you go for free. Well, depending on your situation. I went for 3 weeks, and I came off everything there. But that wouldn't have been enough for me. That just got me free from dependency on alcohol and substance. It didn't train me to remain that way.
Try and understand it like a bit more. Did you ever think about that, like trying to understand your reasons behind just going flat out? I mean, I think what you're saying, or I might be way off the mark here, but you say it's either one's too many and 1,000's not enough. Have you ever into this? Maybe you have now, but have you ever really understood why you just want that first one? Like for this time, was it just the lockdown was just too much? Was that your sort of, I don't want to say excuse, because it's not an excuse.
No, I'm gonna jump in there. Like, it might sound like I'm making excuses. All that stuff that I sort of said was happening, and I was getting worse while it was all going on. Yeah, it did add to it, but the basis of the problem is I can't deal with emotions very well.
Right.
And in some senses, when I was younger, it was good for creativity, that, because I can't deal with that emotion, so I channel that feeling into a song.
Yeah, definitely.
And She's a Weapon, or do you know what I mean? And then you sort of get that outlet going, and then you play the songs to people, they buzz off them, and you sort of buzzing again, and it's all good. And then but as I got more dependent using substance and alcohol, it was sort of like, wow, I can't deal with emotions, so I go to that before I start writing music. I go.
When you've taken that first, you've said you were depressed, weren't you? And you went to the shop and you got a bottle of wine. You must have known in your mind then. I think that's the point, isn't it? When you start that first bottle, a week later, you're probably back on it, you're in it, then your emotions and your mindset's completely different again, isn't it? You're probably not thinking clearly at that point. Am I right?
Yeah, like it doesn't matter how much talk and chat that someone does about, right, I'm not going to go down that road again, I'm going to stay sober, blah de blah de blah, I'll just have one. As soon as you have that one, you're a different person.
Yeah.
The chemical reaction happens in you, and then it all goes out the window. Everything that you've said goes out the window, because you've changed. For me, this is, I've changed something inside of me. And then before, it's like I don't even think twice then. I don't think, oh, wow, I shouldn't have done that. It's just, I'm off. And it's kind of like, it's powerlessness. That's what it is.
Are you powerless to avoid the first one? or after the first one, if that
I
makes sense.
never would have admitted that, but yeah, that's the massive change that I've you know, experienced in the last 6 months. Is I'm powerless. And it might not sound very rock and roll, I'm powerless having it, once I have a drink, so I can't drink. But for me, that is the way it is. I've just got to remain off everything and be creative. And I like it that way,
I think rock and roll, Johnny, is honesty, mate. It's I think doing what you need to do to survive. That's rock and roll.
Yeah, that's it. You bang on there. I'm just sort of saying, because some people perceive rock and roll, it's like you're not rock and roll if you don't have a drink, or you're not rock and roll if you don't smash the hotel, throw the telly out the window.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
None of that's rock and roll. Rock and roll is, like you say, it's being honest and truthful and making good music.
Yeah.
And I can't make good music while I'm smashed out my head. So
Mate,
I want to continue making good music, make better music than I've made in the past. And my only solution to doing that is to remain, complete abstinent from any mind-altering substance. And
I want you to keep making those tunes as well, mate. I really do. I think. Do you think this is the first time you've gone, right, no, I can't do anything now? I mean, I noticed you're smoking like one of the vape things earlier on as well. And like, have you smoke at all, or have you given up everything? Are you completely clean of everything?
I smoke the vape. I managed to do you know, for me, I've always, I'm not, I wouldn't class myself as a singer as such. I've got a voice. You might say it's a unique sounding voice or something like that. But I wouldn't say I'm
voice with attitude. Voice with attitude.
A voice with attitude, or whatever. But I know that I can sing a lot better. And the smoking for me really affects my voice. So even before the health benefits, I was more concerned about, I want to stop smoking and get my voice better, because I want to make some great music. And if my voice is, some people smoke loads and the voice gets better, and it happens with some people, do you know what I mean? And you get certain artists who it works for, but for me it wasn't working. I was running out of air when I was singing on stage. And
well, that's it. You're just getting tired out. I mean, it's like your lung capacity is down, isn't it? So you need that air to sing. Did you struggle giving up smokes in compared to the other stuff?
No, I didn't. I got a vape. I got a vape, and someone told me to get this oil for it, a nicotine salt. So it was like high milligram nicotine, but wasn't harsh on your throat.
Right.
So once I got on that, I didn't even feel like having a cigarette again. I'm not going to lie, I've had a couple here and there over the 6 months, but even when I've had them, I've thrown them away halfway through. No, not for me. And I tell you what, a week after not smoking cigarettes, I felt so much better.
Yeah.
And I was singing along to the radio, and I was jumping out of bed in the morning, and I felt active and I felt motivated. So from as soon as I got that feeling, I thought, wow, this is a way forward for me. I
did the same thing, Johnny. Honestly, mate, I stopped smoking, and like a week in, I thought, this is a good move. It was a tough week, but so what? I could breathe better. Felt way better. Plus, I think it gives you a sense of like power. Like, actually, I can do this. Like, I can do other things. If I can stop doing this, then I can go and do these other things that I thought perhaps I couldn't do. It's like quite a powerful feeling.
Yeah, well, at the time, after that, like I said before, when I came out of that detox, I went into a rehab,
right,
and did treatment, and I got the vape while I was in there, and all the staff there were saying to me, you don't want to quit smoking while you're in here, because obviously I was doing intense treatment. It was quite emotionally, it was deep emotionally, and a lot of people smoke more when they go in them places,
Yeah.
So I was advised not to quit, but like I said before, my health was feeling pretty bad. So I've not looked back on the smoking thing, to be honest.
That's good. That's really good, then. It's just another tick in the box. So now you're on the fruit smoothies and you're trying to sort of live a clean lifestyle. I just wondered if you had any sort of thoughts on like a band who were 17, 18-year-olds, that you could give them a little bit of advice. What would you say to them?
I'd say, like, in this times now, how things are going with this lockdown, it's really hard for young bands who've not taken off yet as such, or maybe not toured or anything like that. So there was probably a lot of bands lined up to do that kind of thing before the lockdown. So going out to all them and any musicians starting out is, in this time that you've probably got now, listen to music, listen to the greats, listen to where rock and roll came from, you know, and the blues from the 40s and previous to that, and the 50s rock and roll. Find what you like. There's so many great artists out there, and there's so much stuff. And listen to current stuff, of course. There's loads of great current bands, but put the time in to learn your craft. You know, learn your craft. Spend time, practice your guitar, practice your piano, your drums. You know, write songs. I think people get dead eager to put things out straight away on Instagram when they've done something. It's like, you know, there's so much stuff now. I tend not to even watch stuff. I might miss some good stuff, but because there's so much, it's like, oh, it's draining me. So I think if people can spend more time working on their actual music and getting it recorded to the best of their ability, and putting it out there, I think that'd benefit people. And I think now, with gigs not being on, people should look more visually. You know, everyone's got a decent phone and everyone can get the software to edit a video. It's in the palm of our hands now. It's not like it's not like years ago where you like had an idea for a video, but there's no way we can do it. So we've got a film crew or someone who can edit video. Everyone can do it now. So I think there could be some really artistic ideas and concepts and videos and so on come from this time. And use
what they got. I mean, that's a good bit of advice, I reckon. That's really good. And what about Twisted Wheel from this point onwards? What are you thinking there?
For Twisted Wheel, for me, right at this moment in time, I'm not getting lost in thinking about it all, because it was a bit of an anticlimax at the start of 2020. And as grim as it was for me, and as much as I personally suffered and my depression come on and all that, I actually found my way into a treatment centre, and I found a new way to live. So for me personally, it's been a blessing in disguise. Maybe if COVID had never come about and we'd have carried on touring, maybe I would have got worse and worse again, possibly ended up homeless or dead. So for me, I'm just grateful to be here and have my guitar and be making music in my own time, how I want to do it. I can't say what the plans are for the band for the future. There's no point us booking a tour, because tours keep getting put out, cancelled, rescheduled, cancelled again. It's messing people about. I can't say when gigs will be back on. So I'd just say to people, enjoy the last album that we made, because it's a great album. Satisfying the Ritual. And when all this COVID stuff hopefully dies down, I'll look into booking a tour and putting another record out. And it won't take me long, because I've got this time now to write songs. And you know,
and you are writing at the moment?
Pardon?
You are doing a bit of writing at the moment?
Yeah, I'm playing guitar. I'm playing guitar every night, practicing, learning covers, old classics, writing my own bits, and just enjoying it with no pressure, you know.
That's brilliant, Johnny. Well, I'm so glad you're doing better, mate. And like, I'm a fan, have been for, well, now 2009. So we're getting on for 12 years now. That's a long time, man. I think I did meet you once, actually, in the lanes in Bristol, and we had a chat about a few bits and pieces. And I think that was just before the second album, but I'd seen you a few times before then. But no, I'll never forget those sort of days. And it, like I said, it is a bit nostalgic for me, but I really appreciate you coming on the show and having a chat.
No,
really,
it's a pleasure. Thanks for asking us. I like your poster as well.
yeah, mate. What the Jimi Hendrix one?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
Have you got LA Woman over there as well?
LA Woman, yeah,
Are
yeah.
But is that Band of Gypsies? No, it's Are You Experienced?
Oh, experience. I got Band of Gypsies down here, mate. I got. In fact, I think I can pull that out there.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I always like. I just love music, man, and that's what I do. I do my own stuff as well.
Right.
I record my own music, and I've been in a band since 2000. My first band started in 2007 when I was 17, and then I went on to do 2 since then, and now I just work on my own simply because I just found it really difficult trying to get people as motivated as me to do stuff. Like someone's always ill, or someone's not turned up to practice, or someone can't book that time off to do 3 dates, and you're like, mate, I'm just sick of this. So I had to sort of just go it alone.
Did you not find that, like, it's like 10 years ago and before that, no, especially 20 years ago, there wasn't all these distractions. So, you got a few lads who wanted to be in a band, and that's all that mattered to them.
Yeah.
So they'd be there, whether they were ill or not, they'd be there. Whether they had a girlfriend or not, they'd be at practice doing the band. Whereas now it's like everyone's got an excuse or to put something off.
And that absolutely, mate. I think that does my head in. Like for me personally, like my principles and the way I work is I'm just an honest geezer. If you say I'm going to be somewhere at that time, I'll be there. If I'm committed to it, I'll be there. People aren't always like that. Very flaky, maybe is the right word, I think. And I can't work like that. I find it hard, like, to deal with that. I think you were probably that person for a while, though, weren't you? Like with Twisted Will, I bet like you were the person not turning up and stuff, and that probably is out of character for you. But
yeah, I think the more that I started doing that, I beat myself up for doing it, and then that made me worse, But yeah, I'm not that person anymore. So
I can tell, Jonny, mate. I honestly, man, I really hope you carry on the right path, because you're a talented geezer and an inspiring one. I think I'm hoping that people will listen to this and sort of, I mean, that might be a good way to end it, actually, is just if there is someone that they might have a problem, have you got any advice for them as you are now?
If anyone's suffering from any drug or alcohol related illness, there are meetings online. If you go onto the internet, onto Google, and you put AA, which is Alcoholics Anonymous, or there's Narcotics Anonymous, NA, and there's various other ones. You can have a look on there, and there's meetings. Now, if you go onto the meetings, all you need is Zoom, and you can start seeing how people come together and have meetings and live, live with their addiction. Get off whatever they've been on. So I'd advise anyone to look into them, and I don't know, man.
That's great. That's great.
Reach out for help.
That's great. I really appreciate you doing this, and we must stay in touch.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Cheers, Jonny, mate. You have a good evening and a good weekend.
You too.
Thanks very much, mate. Bye.